Map of Europe if Germany lost World War II. Okay, this map is just insanely unrealistic. You're telling me that not only did Germany lose, but Russia broke apart as well? You would think that if the Soviets won in the Eastern Front that they'd actually gain territory, not lose it. And if the Soviet Union did break apart, why does Russia still own this little part here? And you're also trying to tell me that the very stable and prosperous Union of Yugoslavia broke apart as well? But perhaps the most unrealistic thing about this map is the fact that the Netherlands is still above water. Yeah, so overall this is a horrible alternate history map. I bet that most Europeans can't name any of these states. You know, I'm getting sick and tired of all these Europeans saying that us Americans are bad at geography. You Europeans say you're so good at geography, but I bet you can't name any of these states. This one right here is the great state of George Washington Jr. Down here right next to Hawaii is Reverse Nevada, and of course don't forget about the great state of Idaho too. Checkmate, Europe. Propose Israel-Palestine conflict solutions. First we have the most extreme, the zero-state solution, or perhaps they should go to the more moderate one-state solution. We could stick with the two-state solution to maintain the status quo, but out of all of these solutions, the Norway solution is most definitely the best approach. We can have the Palestinians in the mainland of Norway, and then Israel can build some artificial islands in the ocean near the coast. There we have it. It's solved. I foresee zero problems coming about from this. Big burger, mini burger, big soda, mini soda. I don't know about that one, bro. Hey, maybe I'm just tripping here, but that definitely looks like Wisconsin to me. Also, they don't call soda soda in Minnesota. They call it pop. Why is there so much Google Street View in South Korea, but none in North Korea? Does Google Maps just have something against the Supreme Leader Kim? Like, there's so much Street View coverage right here, so why couldn't they have just crossed the border? Are they stupid or something? Why are the dark green areas more populated? You know, I think I got it. This is a map of tree coverage in Germany, and the darker areas mean there's more trees. And since it's extremely sunny all year round in Germany, all the people need to huddle together where the trees are to find some shade. But why are there so many trees specifically in this area? And you're trying to tell me that there's just no trees in this gray area? You do you, Germany. How is it possible that such a small continent conquered the world? Okay, this is genuinely just a good question. It's such a small continent, but they were really able to conquer the entire world. Like, imagine telling someone in the 1400s that this small nation right here conquered all of these islands, and that this other small nation right below it owned like most of Central Africa. History is interesting. A definitive map of the real US regions. The lower 48 should correctly be referred to as the Middle East, which of course would make Hawaii the Midwest. And logically, we should refer to Alaska as the Pacific Northwest. And of course, this tiny island here will be known as New England, because I'm sure the weather is just as great. Is your currency worth more than 1 Roebuck? Apparently 1 Roebuck is equal to 0.0125 US dollars. Seems like most of Central Africa's currency is worth less than a Roebuck, and I kinda expected that Argentina would be on this list, but Chile is a little surprising. And somehow Japan's currency is worth less than a Roebuck, but of course basically all of Europe and the US's currency is worth more. And unsurprisingly, Russia's currency is worth less than a Roebuck. I had to actually look that up to make sure, and it's actually true. 1 Russian ruble is equal to 0.01 US dollars. I was gonna say that's kinda sad, but honestly that's more impressive than anything. I take back what I said before, there's actually only 3 regions in the US, and those are the Northwest, Connecticut, and no data. We can see that the Northwest is in red, which encompasses most of the country. Wyoming obviously has no data, because ask yourself, have you ever met a person from Wyoming? I don't think so. And the only distinction that needs to be made is between the rest of the country and Connecticut. I don't know about you, but I do not want to be lumped in with them. Introducing Rush Sea. This is a scenario about what if we just turn the entirety of Russia into an ocean. You know, I'm wondering why Ukraine hasn't thought of this yet. They can't be in conflict with Russia if Russia doesn't exist. Do you know the real reason why Ireland is called Ireland? It's because as we go down from Iceland, we go down the alphabet in the second letter. So we have Idaland, Iland, Iceland, Igeland, Ihaland. Don't forget about Ikeland, Ilaland, Imaland, Inaland. Finally, we have Ipaland, Iqualand, eventually reaching to Ireland. Wow. I am learning so much today. I don't get it. Why don't we just deforest this whole area for more people to live in? You know, I've always wondered the same thing. Like, we have Miami over here just hugging the coast. Like, instead of doing that, how about you take this perfectly good land suitable for living and use that instead? Like, if we drop down here, we can see that this is perfectly suitable land for living. I don't know about you, but that dead stump right there looks pretty cozy, just as Mother Nature intended. What if we Balkanized all of Europe? Yeah, just put the Balkans over France, put one up here in Scandinavia, and we'll definitely need a big one to put over Russia as well. Real talk though, imagine if all of Europe was actually Balkanized. Actually, imagine if Russia was Balkanized. If you think the conflict in Ukraine is bad, imagine what a conflict in a Balkanized Russia would turn into. Why aren't there any major US cities in this region? Yeah, Canada, what's the issue? You're telling me that there's no US cities allowed in Canada? You know, I used to think the Canadians were nice, but now I'm not so sure. I just feel so betrayed. Why are there no roads here? Like, why couldn't we just make a bridge across the Atlantic from Newfoundland all the way to Ireland? And while we're at it, let's just connect Florida to Portugal. Any civil engineer who's not working on this right now is wasting their time. Why does Bavaria consider itself to be part of West Germany when it's more east than parts of East Germany? This looks like it's another alt history map from the What If Germany Lost World War II scenario. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what the writers were thinking with this one. Like, it's clearly in the eastern half of the country, so why did they decide to include it in the west? Also, why does it kind of look like this part of Berlin is not in East Germany? So unrealistic. Might be a silly question, but is there a name for this region? Yeah, so as a professional geographer, we in the business like to refer to this region as North Trans Africa, Anatolia, Eurasia, Indus, Iranica. It's totally cool if you didn't know what this region was called. We all start somewhere. Is this where the government makes birds? I knew it. You know, my half-step grandfather-in-law said I was crazy when I told him all of the birds in America are simply government agents. He didn't believe me. Well, who is laughing now? Richard? What if the Brest-Litovsk peace treaty was more fair to the Central Powers? Here we have the completely unfair old Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, with Germany only getting the Baltics and Belarus, and with both the Austrians and the Ottomans just barely scrapping by with these tiny pieces of land. So that's why I am proposing a new, more fair version of the treaty. Germany will get all of northern Russia, Austria will now extend all the way to the Pacific Ocean, and logically we should be giving all this Turkic land to the Turks. But don't worry, it wasn't too harsh on Russia. They still own this part of eastern Siberia. It has a nice long coastline, it's sunny like 2, maybe 2.5 days each year. I'm sure there's some sort of natural resource there. So yeah, personally, I think this is what should have happened. Why are there so many cities right on this line? There's gotta be like a fault line or something. Some geographic feature that like justifies them building these cities exactly on this natural line. If anyone watching this video is from Germany, please let us know. This is a map of the United States according to a Sri Lankan news channel. Seems like New York and Florida take over the entire eastern half of the country. Of course, California controls the entire west coast. And obviously, the rest of the country is just Texas. And who could forget about the massive number 12 hovering over the entire state of Alaska? Did you know that the Central African Republic would be the largest country in the world if they annexed all of these areas? Like, yeah, this actually makes a lot of sense. Just imagine if the Central African Republic took over Chad, Sudan, Ethiopia, not to mention Mauritania and most of the Sahara Desert. And don't forget about most of Southern Africa as well. I like how the person who made this just gave up when they got to Uganda. There was just too many provinces and they decided they're not filling in all that. Why don't we put a giant parking lot here? Are we stupid? My man's spitting straight facts here. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm actually a professional urban planner, so let me give my 2 cents here. So if we take a look at the periphery around the park, we can see there's a lot of residential housing. And let me ask you a question. How do those people in those residential buildings get places? That's right, the automobile. So since there's so many people near this empty green space that isn't used for anything, I think it's only fair that we should make a massive parking lot right here. We got some lanes over here, and I'll just place a massive shopping mall right here. Of course, we need some more lanes. And could we really call this America if there wasn't a 16-lane freeway going right over it? God, I love this country. What if we put America in reverse? Maybe it's just me, but the western states now look massive massive. Like, it literally looks like it takes up 2/3 of the country. I think the biggest realization out of everything here is that the eastern half of the country is just really small. Surely no way this is right. Like, I know it is right, but it just doesn't feel right. And just imagine if we displayed the entire planet like this. Like, this is technically an accurate way to show the world, we just don't do it. Like, it just makes it really easy to see how little land there is in the southern hemisphere. And only now do I truly realize how massive the Pacific Ocean is. Like, this is genuinely insane. I'm so used to this orientation of the world that anything else just doesn't feel right. And to finish off, this is definitive proof that France does not exist. Only joking, of course. Unfortunately, the world will never be such a paradise.